Perfect recording. Okay, let's get this call started. So thank you everyone who's come to the InterMine community call today. So my name is Yo Yehudi, and we have several speakers today who will be sharing. Basically, our focus today is training as a form of community outreach. So the first speaker that we'll be having today is Sara. Oh, but wait, sorry, I am all over the place today. Apologies. I just wanted to mention before we get started, we have a code of conduct. So that just means generally treat each other with respect and with kindness, no matter who anyone is. But if for any reason there is any issues, then you can speak either to myself. My email address is in the agenda. Or if it's something that's to do with me, please email Daniela. She is one of my colleagues at InterMine, and she can also handle any issues that may arise with regards to the code of conduct. Hopefully there won't be any issues. Anyway, so as I said, today's theme is training as a form of community outreach. And we have today Sara El-Gebali. Did I say that right, by the way, Sara? Okay. And she is a biological curator. She recently worked at the EBI, and she's going to be talking about the 10, it's not 10 anymore, but the do's and don'ts for computational training. So I will pass it over to you, Sara.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Thank you so much, Joe. And yeah, the reason is I moved from 10 and grew to a whole list. So I'm actually really happy about that. And it's all available on my GitHub, and there's the link in the presentation. So let me share the presentation with you first of all. Let's see how that works. I just had it, didn't I? Yeah. It was working. Okay, can everybody see this?
Looks perfect.
Okay, but it's not the first slide. There we go. So, yeah, so as you mentioned, my name is Sara. I'm a scientific database curator. I'm passionate about issues regarding access to knowledge in open science, inclusion in academia, and specifically in computational settings. And today I'll be focusing on computational training in particular, since training is one of those tools that we have and we can use to alleviate the digital divide, to ensure equity and inclusion when we talk about open science. So there are many areas in academia that have recently become extremely data-driven, dependent, and producing a huge amount of data. I don't need to really talk about that. This big data also requires a lot of tools, workflows, resources, and computational skills at all stages of the research data lifecycle. So this is an example of the different stages and some of the tools that are available for researchers to manage their research projects, and at every step, such as planning, creating the data, collection of the data, analysis, sharing, and preservation. So what does that make us? This is essentially made us amphibious creatures. And when I say amphibious creatures, we're capable of both functioning in the wet lab and in the dry lab. And but in order to do this effectively and plan our experiments, interact with our data, and all of that, we do need specialized training. And this is where the computational training part comes in. So I was hoping to ask some of you or all of you to join us in Slido and tell me, just to raise awareness to the need of the computational skills training. Does your institute offer computational skills training courses? Are you aware? Do you join any of them? Please join us in Slido and we'll have with the InterMine code. And we'll discuss the results at the end of the presentation. I think for some of you, this is not really applicable since you're the ones offering the training. Yeah. Okay. Not sure. Right. Okay. So yeah. So basically, there is an increased demand for computational skills training, but there's also challenges that are associated with that, such as institutional commitments, funding, attitudes, and cultures, and policies, and all of this. But there are also logistical challenges that are associated with it. So to start with, do I have experts in the field who are able to deliver training? Are these experts experienced not only in the subject but also in delivering training or not? And how do you teach coding and programming to different audiences, whether they're biologists or from different backgrounds? So when it comes to that, what's the best choice of material, what method to go about the teaching, and what are the students' profiles, what are their interests, why are they here? Are they here to solve a particular question, or are they just here to learn a skill in general that they might need later on? And all of these questions need answering, and they need tools and to handle them. And most importantly, there's technical issues to deal with, like technical limitations, computational infrastructure, which dictates what am I teaching and how am I going to teach it. So why are we talking about these challenges? Why are we interested in answering them and finding ways to circumvent them? Because these challenges have knock-on effects, determining who has access to knowledge, who is involved in the discussion regarding open science practices, data sharing, and open science values. So it's increasingly important to consider who is in the configuration or the capacity of talking about working openly and who is not. So we need to ensure inclusion in the computational events, especially in training, as I mentioned earlier, because it does offer a solution in closing the skill gap and alleviating the digital inequalities in the open science community. So when we talk about open science, have a look who is talking, who is involved in the discussion, and who is not, and how do we bring everybody to the table. So how do we do that? So there are many things to consider, but first of all, things like which tools and computational infrastructures we can use, and these elements that need to be taken into consideration are associated with the design and the execution of the workshops, such as what is the data operability? When we're talking about the what is data portability and interoperability with other platforms? Which tools or interfaces am I teaching them? Are they available for the students outside of the classroom or not? Is there a fee associated with it or not? How are they going to be able to access the software, data, and outside of the campus? So I don't want to go too much into details, but for example, having RStudio, if you're teaching RStudio, you need to set up a server, but the server, if you're working with a university server, they might not afford permission to access outside of the off campus. Then you're looking into a high computing high computing platforms or cloud, and what are the accessibilities? How are people going to use this basically once they walk out of that room? So again, as I said, there are a whole list of tools that you could use and different ways to think about what you're teaching and how you're teaching it. And I've listed them in my GitHub. And one of the favorite things while I was planning this presentation, or my colleague and my friend Malvika is running at the very moment, she's running computational training in India. And she was saying, you can see in her tweet and you can follow the thread, is like, why do we need to depend heavily on internet while we're teaching? We take it for granted here, but all of us who are carrying on research and working with the big data at the moment, we grew up without internet. Most of us, not all of us, most of us. So how do we do this to how do we shift that reliance on our and our way of thinking to make our teaching more inclusive? So I'm gonna move on from that, but we're gonna talk more about logistics and behavior, the other factors to consider. So I am a very big proponent for knowing your audience, knowing their background, knowing who they are, what they came here for. Have they been switching languages, platforms, learning new skills all the time? What are their expectations? What are their concrete expected outcomes of that training that helps you to gain feedback get feedback before, get to know them before the lessons to tailor it for them. And this, so while we're planning this session, we have to focus on consistency. What is the current state of the research tools and what is available in their environment, and how comfortable it is for them to pick it up and learn it and go on and use it. So again, I'm not going to dwell too much into each and every point. Have a look at the list. But one thing I've learned from training sessions is that you can never have enough post-it notes. You can use them to have a real-time feedback to assess the user learning. It encourages them to ask for help. It also signals that it is okay to ask for help. And in many different cultures, asking for help means different things, and it may prevent them being included. So if you give the learners 2 different colors, have them signal when they need help or not, it's a non-invasive way of running, of gaining feedback and helping on the spot, especially if you have trainers or co-trainers in facilitating the session with you. They'd be able to smoothly get in there, help them out, and it facilitates the access of help and promotes inclusion. So but not just trainers. One other thing is having a very good skill moderator. In my case, if I can, I'm asking one of my other co-trainers who is a skilled trainer themselves, who is able to spot when things are needed and detect patterns, someone who preferably had subconscious bias and awareness training, is able to keep time to look for stereotype activations. And when I talk about stereotype activations, I'll give you an example. So there are studies showing that in a Q&A session or discussion, if the first question was caused by a woman, other women are more likely to engage and at a higher rate compared to if the first question or discussion point was raised by a man. And this gender stereotype activation is not just for gender, obviously, but for other minorities. Having someone who's aware of this, I can modulate the situation to promote active, inclusive discussions. And this goes on for the number of questions and the timing, obviously. We don't want someone who's hogging the whole discussion. So there's very interesting studies but I want to just wrap up here and say that this has been passion of mine, and I'm happy that I finally, along with my colleague Nicolas Alessandro, that we've launched a platform for computational inclusion and mental health inclusion in academia. Please join us on Twitter and join us on Slack for discussions or email us. And if you want to directly speak with me or get in touch with me, there's all my handles. And what else? Going back to the training question that I've asked earlier. Oh, please open feedback. I'll come back to this. Sorry. So these are the links and resources. And yeah, if you don't know where to go, if your institute doesn't help, please have the other training computational institutes or organizations or other entities out there that offer training, computation training for skills. And please give as much feedback as anonymous, and I would appreciate it a lot. So thank you so much for listening. Yeah, happy to take any questions now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sara. So I did want to say, I thought it was I realized that tweet from Alvika was actually like yesterday.
Yeah.
So really nice update. Yeah. I also really especially appreciated the point that you had about moderators being aware of who they take questions from, even who the first person that they take a question from is. I know that having chaired session, it's definitely something I'm guilty of not being conscious of. So I definitely appreciate the reminders.
I mean, I've had sessions where the moderators, actually my colleagues and friends, and they would be like, Sarah, stop waffling. And this, I think that helped me a lot more. And it helped me from hugging the discussion, and I really appreciated that. So it goes both ways. It's not just like we need to maintain a good atmosphere and environment that is inclusive for everybody without that hierarchy as well. Like, just because I'm the instructor, it doesn't give me the right to be talking nonstop. So I'll stop there.
Awesome. If anyone has any questions at the minute, you can feel free to unmute at the moment and ask them. Or it's also okay to type the questions into the document, and we'll follow up on those later. And don't forget to go to Slido as well.
Hi, I have a question. I had to join a little late. Sorry, there was some issue with the link that you sent out in the email, I think. Sorry. But I was curious about, I mean, I really appreciated what you said about knowing the audience that you're talking to. I think that can be really challenging. Especially when you're kind of called on to instruct a course that you haven't necessarily been instrumental in selecting the applicants for. And I wondered, do you have any resources that you can recommend in terms of, I mean, you mentioned like icebreakers, which sounds like a good idea, but I would have no idea how to.
So I find the carpentries to offer amazing guidelines, and you can go on their website directly. You can see you can still see my screen, right? Yes. So I've got 2 publications that I've derived some information and knowledge from. So they've got ideas for icebreakers and how they handle the pre and during and after and overall. You can even download like their feedback forms that they send prior and after. So yeah, there's a lot of information there, and please go to my GitHub and keep an eye on it as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, if you get a moment, Sarah, could you just add maybe the links for the icebreaker thing to the agenda, just so that we could have those for following up later? That would be great.
Okay, I can I do it later then?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Don't worry.
Okay,
that's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure. Anyone have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Well, huge thanks, Sarah, for sharing your talk and sharing what you've learned.
All right. Thanks for having me, and it's really a pleasure.
Amazing. Okay, so it's up to you. You can stick around or head off. But I will introduce our second speaker of the day. So I have with us Bérénice Batut, and she is the Galaxy Training Network, is it co-lead and founder, is that right? You're muted.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm currently, I would say co-leading, the Galaxy Training Network. Sounds good. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So first of all, thank you for the invitation. So I'm Bérénice Batut. I'm currently postdoc in Freiburg in the Galaxy team in Freiburg. And today I will talk to you about the Galaxy Training Network work and the effort from these groups of people to reach different communities. And first of all, one of the main aspects of the Galaxy Training Network is to reach the users. And to show you this use case, I will take a short story. So in the back of the screen, in the background of the screen, you can see Anna. So Anna, she's a PhD student. She's studying the impact of microbiota and sex in the development of some brain cells, and she generates a lot of data in different areas. So mostly RNA-seq data, but she has also metagenomics data and a bit of metabolomics data. But she's working in her lab. There is no bioinformatician, so she has no support to help her analyzing her data. And so she's a bit lost. She doesn't know how to analyze her data and which tools using, which platform using, how to do that. One of her colleagues told her, maybe you could have a look to Galaxy. It could be a good solution for you. But she doesn't know what to do it. So she looked on the internet about Galaxy quickly, and she found out that the Galaxy communities offer a lot of workshops to teach mostly non-computer scientists how to analyze their data. And she found one workshops close to our locations where she could attend a 2-day workshops learning how to analyze RNA-seq data using Galaxy. So she went to these workshops, she sit there, and the first thing that she realized that this Galaxy could be a great solution for her. So Galaxy is a web interface for thousands of bioinformatics tools, and most of the main bioinformatics tools that you need to analyze your own data. And because it's a web interface, you don't need to learn how to program. You don't need to learn how to use Bash or using a HPC. She just realized that she can do that without asking for special resources, going to a complex other trainings. And she can go back to her lab and do it. Open a web browser, and she can access still again these resources. And so during these 2 days workshops, she learned not only how to use Galaxy, but how to use Galaxy and how to analyze her own data. So she went through different steps, through Galaxy introduction to quality control, to mapping, and to really how to analyze RNA-seq data. And the resources that the instructor used are online, free to use tutorials that are available on this web page, training.galaxyproject.org. And so she kept in mind, she bookmarked this website saying, okay, maybe once I come back to my lab, I will need that. I will need to reproduce and try to reanalyze my data following these tutorials. So exactly what happened. So she went back, she got new data, and she started to rerun the different tutorials directly on her own data. Because I forgot to mention, but each tutorial there were developed following a research story. So trying to illustrate a typical workflow or data analysis pipeline. using a sample data sets, but then you go step by step with the explanation of the theory, but also some practical parts where the people really do on their own and really see the result of that. So back to the lab, she started to redo that for RNA-seq data, but she got also metagenomics data. And so she realized that there is many resources on this website, not only for RNA-seq or transcriptomic data, but for different topics or different communities, if you think in the terms of topic communities. So more than 20 resource topics are available there for more than 150 different tutorials. So she found out that, okay, she could analyze her own data on her own. So, and it's one of the main goals of the Galaxy Training Network is to reach these communities of users, bring them to Galaxy, and also teach them how to analyze their own data, even if they don't use Galaxy on the end, but at least they learn how to go step by step through a pipeline or through a data analysis things. And we know that we manage to reach our users, new users, but also old users that previously used Galaxy were maybe not so satisfied and came back again. And one way we learn that is for each tutorials, at the end of each tutorials, we embedded a feedback form where the people can write how they feel about the tutorials. And we got over the last year, almost, I think it's since September 2018, we got more than 800 feedback forms filled by individuals that tell us how they feel about these different tutorials available online. And we got also some nice tweets sometimes that we found on Twitter where the people say that they use the resources to learn on their own and apply that to their own resources. So one of the goals, so we continue that, developing these resources to be able to reach even more users. And the other goals, one of the other goals of the Galaxy Training Network is to reach the instructors. So how to reach people that give workshops. So come back to the story of Anna. So Anna, she was becoming more and more comfortable with her data analysis. And so more and more of her colleagues came to her and asking her for help. So she thought, okay, I cannot help everybody. I need to teach my colleagues also how to how to analyze their own data. How can I do that? So she decided to organize small workshops for her colleagues. But she was a bit, okay, I never teach anything. How can I do that? How can I be more confident in teaching using Galaxy? And for the Galaxy, she found out that the Galaxy Training Network put an effort on developing resources to help and support instructors. So with different tutorials available there for helping instructors to organize the workshops, to teach using Galaxy, to set up, if needed, a Galaxy server specific for your trainings, but also different instructors share their feeling, how they use Galaxy for trainings. So I play this game of trying to go and think how I use Galaxy for teachings and explaining step by step how I do that. It's a really strange exercise, and it's really interesting to that and share. And we realized that even with only 6 people, we have so many different ways of using Galaxy and give teaching. And it was really interesting for us to realize that. But having resources, so the instructors have the tutorials available there that they can use directly during workshops. It's what we do. So we give a lot of workshops currently using these tutorials online to teach people. And we use them, I don't know how many workshops we have currently using that. We have resources to help people to be instructors or to use these resources. But you need also a strong infrastructure in the back. So with the tools, with the data available there and things. And over the last year, we put a lot of effort with the European Galaxy server. and the European Galaxy community to build a strong training infrastructure with dedicated resources, computing resources for a workshop. So on request, you can ask for dedicated queue on the cluster, where then the participants are not stuck in the same queue as users. For example, if someone decided to submit thousands of jobs, it happened, I can tell you. We had that during the workshops 2 years ago, where one of our main power users decided to submit, I don't remember, I think it was 10,000 jobs in the same times, and we were stuck in the queue with the participants of the workshops. And it was a bit like, okay, what can we do? So we decided to dedicate resources for workshops. But then we have also other support for testing the different training workflows and things. Over the last year, using these resources, we supported more than 65 different workshops with more than 1,500 participants. So people, and it's not only us, for this European Galaxy server, we have requests from everywhere in the world, and we are really happy for that. And so we know that using all this effort on the Galaxy Training Network and the European Galaxy server, we managed to reach really instructors, to help them, to support this community of instructors. I like this nice tweet from Nicolas Descotes, where he said that he could prepare in only 4 hours the 2-day workshops by using the resources on the available online and using the European Galaxy server. And so we got more and more feedbacks like this, and we are happy because it's what we were eager to do. And the last, but not least, community that we need to care with the Galaxy Training Network is the contributor, the people that developed resources, that developed training resources, training materials. And so this project, I forgot to mention, started 3.5 years ago. And over all these times, so we built the infrastructure step by step. But one thing we realized more and more was if we want to have people that contribute and come back, so not only one time recreating our tutorials, but come back and create new tutorials, new resources, we need to make sure that people feel comfortable with this infrastructure and feel that they can make it, they can contribute to that. So we put a lot of efforts to build a framework to facilitate the contributions. So all the resources, all the materials are available on GitHub. They are written, all the tutorials are written in Markdown, but we put a lot of efforts also to document everything. Each of the things that we are doing are documented. The process how to create new materials and is documented with explaining how to write tutorials. We follow also what I call the open development process. So it's like the Git flow, where to create a new tutorial, you create a branch, you open a pull request, you have a peer review to guarantee a quality of the tutorials also, because it's something we think it's important. And then you have a lot of discussion with the community for that. And over the last year, we also put a lot of efforts to make even simpler for people that that are not familiar with Git and are not familiar with the command lines. So if you have a workflow in Galaxy, if you have some metadata, we have a web server that will create a structure of the tutorials for you with all the different steps from your workflow, and then you I will put really like to fill the content, so explaining the theory behind each of the steps, but you don't have to spend too much details on the technical part. And another aspect, if we want to keep contributors, to get contributors, is a lot of efforts is on the community, building this community. One of the main things we are working on, and we spend time in, is really these community events. So we organize every 3 months what we call the online co-fest, so for collaboration fest, community fest, how you want to explain the core things, but community collaboration, contribution first, everything. So we have that every 3 months online, where the different people from the community come together, work on the training materials, fix some bugs, find some fun, improve some tutorials or something. And also during this day, we organize 2 community calls, because to manage these different time zones. And then, yeah, we try to catch with what's going on in the communities currently for, the different communities. And we try to organize regularly face-to-face hackathon, where we try to get new contributors, and we teach them, we mentor them, not during the hackathon, but also on the long run. It's one of our main efforts is to mentor people, to teach them, to take them by the end and helping them contributing, and by showing them how to do that. I mean, I think I tried to do it like 2 weeks ago with you, with your. So you has opened a pull request sometimes ago on InterMine tutorials for Galaxy, and 2 weeks ago I tried to show you how your tutorials can be improved. And I think it's something we spend time on that with the communities, to really try to explain why, the process, what can be done, improved. And so thanks to all these efforts we have now, I think, quite a strong community of contributors, and that not only contribute once, but came back and do contribute several times. So over the last 3.5 years, we got almost 150 people that contributed to the training materials, and it's still growing. And I'm always surprised that new people come and contribute. And I really thank them a lot, because this project would not be possible without them, without this strong community and this and that. And I'm also happy because we got feedbacks directly. So on GitHub and Twitter, we got feedbacks of people that contributed for the first time, and that seems happy to contribute to that. So, and I love this project for that, because we got feedbacks, we got nice, all the effort that we put over the last 3.5 years seems to be useful, I think. So I tried, I hope that I managed to show you with this presentation that all the effort of the Galaxy Training Network to reach the different communities, I mean the communities of user, instructor, contributors, but also the different topics communities, metagenomics, assembly, proteomics, we managed to put them all together and contribute to the same project. And it's also the aim of Galaxy in general, not only the training network, but the Galaxy community in general, is to bring all this community together in one nice project and contribute together. And one other aspect that we are working on is how to reach the cities now. So we have projects working on that, on reaching citizens that are also important, I think, for us. And on that, I would like to thank you. You can find the resources about the project. So the website is training.galaxyproject.org, and then the GitHub repository. And we have, since few months, we have also a Twitter account for the Galaxy Training Network. And thanks a lot for listening.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bérénice. I have to say I'm inspired. I think that now I want to make an InterMine training network.
Okay. If you need any help, let me know.
So if anyone has any questions, I have about 4. So, I mean, I don't want to hog. So I would say feel free to hop over to the agenda and type them out, or to unmute if you have questions you'd like to ask now. Okay, I'll continue with mine in that case. But again, feel free to add some to the document. So what technology do you use for the feedback form in the training?
Simple Google form.
Ah, fair enough.
And that is embedded directly in the tutorials at the end. And it's really nice because if you put it directly in the tutorials, the people will feel it. If you don't, the people, before we had a link asking, okay, if you want, give us feedbacks, click on these links, and the people were not answering it. So since we embedded it, we have a lot of feedbacks, and we got them automatically also submitted to GitHub as a GitHub issue. So every time someone submits something on the Google form, it's automatically filling a GitHub issue on the training material. So we got notification.
Nice. Okay, one other thing I really loved was that you actually had a how to do, how we do the training, which I thought was a really exciting, like giving use cases of how you approach providing the training. So I think that's definitely something we need to be doing for InterMine as well. So that's really cool. Thank you. And I also did want to comment that you mentioned that you do the one-on-one mentoring where you actually help people out with preparing training, and it really did strike me that it does help create a high quality resource. So when we were just sitting together a couple of weeks ago at the European Biohackathon, it's really awesome to be to see all the effort that you make to make things consistent and to not have repetitive stuff or things that people don't need to be hearing. And it contributes to a really nice training resource. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we try to do our best for that. And I really think the mentoring, so one-by-one mentoring is the best. So it's not always possible online, but we try to do our best, even when we review pull requests, to try to, because it will be easier for sometimes that we do it ourselves, will be quicker, but we try to spend the time on reviewing and explaining why we did that, and taking the time of, okay, can you do that? Could you add that because of that and that? So yeah, it's a lot of efforts, but I think it's the best way to get people contributing again and understanding why we do that this way. And we do the same for reviewing. So we try to help to empower people to review other pull requests. Mm-hmm. And it's something we try to do now more and more to get people that feel more comfortable in reviewing pull requests. And one thing also that works also a lot is doing workshops. When we do workshops and some people found out an error somewhere in the tutorials, we show them how to contribute. So even our participants of workshops, we try to make them comfortable to contribute, because I think it's the best way to get up-to-date tutorials also.
That's a really great point. Brave getting people to edit it right then in the workshops, but it's really awesome. Cool. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Well, I did want to ask, I might have misunderstood, but it sounded like you were working on tutorials for the InterMine Galaxy integration. Is that?
That is correct, yes. So they are written. They need to be improved a little bit. I have quite a lot of notes, but I literally, since Bérénice tutored me on this at the European Biohackathon, and then I went on strike and I haven't been back to work until today. But hopefully soon those should be out, so that we have more information about how you can export Galaxy. It should be from any InterMine. You shouldn't need to change InterMine at all, so long as it's reasonably up to date. So all of the Beanie Mines should work with Galaxy and vice versa.
Great. Yeah, that's something that I've been interested in exploring and could use a good tutorial to help guide me.
Amazing. Cool. Any other questions at all or comments?
I was actually wondering, so what are the level of computational resources required for setting up a Galaxy instance for doing a workshop? I mean, say you had a workshop of, I don't know, maybe 20 people, and you were doing, I don't know, say RNA-seq differential expression types analyses. What would you recommend as the sort of size of dedicated resource you might want to choose for such a?
I would recommend you to not set up a full server for that, because it's a lot of efforts and energy for that. I mean, you can use galaxy.eu and request for dedicated resources for training, for your training there. It will be much more easier for you. Otherwise, we have Docker images that with all the materials, the tools, the data needed for given the Galaxy training network material there, so to support them, so you can deploy that. And otherwise, setting up a full server, I'm not a Galaxy admin, so I cannot tell you, and I think it's a full-time job. So I will say it's a lot of efforts. For 20 people, we know that some people manage to do that with one, I don't know. So I know that we have some instructors that go to Africa with a small server there and deploy a small Galaxy server there for 20 euros, the same resources, the same needs. I mean, we could ask them. I don't have any idea. The main things will take a lot of energy will be the mapping, doing the RNA-seq.
Right.
And mapping can, depending on the tool that you use, can ask for a lot of memories.
Right.
So.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, we do periodic workshops training students in analyses, and we always dedicate like a whole day to kind of give them an introduction to Unix so that we can do everything at command line. And it would be interesting to explore Galaxy as an alternative. You know, I mean, I don't really have a strong feeling that students shouldn't be learning Bash. I think it might serve them in later life, but maybe not.
I mean, I think it depends. And one thing I like also about teaching using Galaxy is that you don't have to care about, because I think on the top, the teaching how to use Bash is an overhead on the top. So they need to get familiar with Bash before able to run one command line. And with Galaxy, at least we can focus really on the theory and how to apply that. And I think Bash or something, or R or anything could be taught afterwards. I mean, as when they need to be. So I think Galaxy for teaching is like the Padawan level or something. And if you want to become more Jedi way, you should learn Bash, yes, at some point, but maybe not on the first, in the first way, on the first thing, on the first step.
That's fair.
And so it's what we try. So we have also one workshops where we teach in 3 days. We did that where we teach Galaxy introduction, QC mapping, RNA-seq on the first 2 days, and on the third day we teach the basic of R and how they can do visualizations of their RNA-seq data using R Studio within Galaxy, because we have also R Studio now available within Galaxy.
Oh.
And Jupyter notebooks also. So if you want to have Python or if you want to have R, you can use that directly inside Galaxy. So on your own data, you don't need to move your data outside of Galaxy to be able to use the R. So we teach them, we have that now, this format. Also.
Do you have a tutorial on that?
Yep, we have tutorials on that. So they are not officially online. So they are online, but not available through the main thing, the main website. They should be available next week. We are working on that to get them fully online.
I can probably wait that long.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Andrew and Bérénice. So I think I'm going to wrap up because we are nearly on the hour. So I just have a few small InterMine related notes and some other training resources that I wanted to mention. So line 83 on the agenda, I've linked to a few more training resources. And I probably need a little disclaimer because two of those, there are some mentoring programs that are accepting applications. These are mentoring programs to do with open science. One of them, eLife Innovation Leaders, is for anyone who wants to learn about creating open tech platforms for life science publishing. And the other one, Open Life Science, is focusing on helping people to lead open science projects. So if you know anyone who might be interested, encourage them to apply to those two. But the reason I need a disclaimer is actually that Open Life Science is one that Bérénice and I are working on with another colleague, Malvika, who actually was also featured in Sarah's talk. So, but does just a quick mention of those two. I think Sarah also did mention the carpentries training in general, but I also just wanted to give that a shout out as well. So the carpentries and structure training really is an amazing way to learn how to effectively teach and share things with people. And I did it a couple of years ago, and I really, really value spending 2 days. And that training can actually be done online, and it's free to register for. So that's really valuable for me, at least. And finally, just to mention that we have InterMine specific training at intermine.org/tutorials. It is not as grand as the Galaxy Training Network. And it does have a mixture of videos from various different InterMines, as well as some nice computational Jupyter notebooks that people can step through to learn more in both Python and R. And people are always welcome to fork those, reuse those, and adjust those as needed. Apart from that, it is time where things begin to shut down. So just that people should be aware, InterMine from I think next week onwards, just about, people will be out for various bits of Christmas break. And so emails may be slow to be responded to, and we'll be back to normal in January. Although I think I'm only really taking off Christmas itself, so I'm probably going to be available if anyone does need an InterMiner during Christmas, during December. And finally, the next InterMine Techie community call will be the 9th of January, not the 2nd, because I don't think anyone will be at work on the 2nd. And then the next community outreach call will be on the 6th of February, and I'm still looking for speakers. But we do have one lined up. There's Jason Williams. He is the founder of lifescitrainers.org, and he is also a hilarious human being, so I think that will be a fantastic talk. I can see Bérénice laughing there. And I think that's everything I had to say. Oh no, wait, one last thing, which is just, if anyone has any ideas for our community outreach calls, I've suggested a few possible topics towards the end of the document. So some ideas I had were getting open contributors for your project, on rewarding contributors, journal clubs, mental health in academia, and or open source. And then I've got open to other. So if you have any ideas, feel free to +1 them if you like any of them, or add feedback right at the bottom of the agenda. We've got some notes about feedback for topics or anything in calls that you might like to improve, or that you think we should do more of, or that you liked, just so you can share that if you wish to, and you don't have to add your name if you'd rather not. But I think that's everything for today. So I want to have a huge round of thanks for Sara and for Bérénice for your amazing talks. I think those were really useful and really interesting. And thank you to everyone who came today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.